Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to the Middle Nation. The European Court of Justice ruled that hijabi Muslim women can be suspended from their jobs or denied employment if a company feels that their customers would take exception to seeing them. The court stated that if employers feel that the presence of Muslim hijabi women at the job would undermine the company's image with consumers or with customers as neutral, the women can be fired if they refuse to take off the hijab. The ruling does not specify hijab per se, but any conspicuous display of philosophical, political, or religious belief. Neutral, therefore, according to the European Court, means having no belief in anything, including apparently the values of the Enlightenment. The hijab, of course, is not a display. It's not like wearing a cross or a crucifix. It's a religious practice. A practice that companies in Europe are now free to prohibit Muslim women from following if they believe that customers would find it objectionable. This amounts then to the European Court colluding with the far right of Europe to disappear Muslim women from the workplace. The ECJ is essentially telling Muslim women that their place is in the home. The same, of course, is true throughout Europe, with or without a court ruling. British Muslim women are 71% more likely to be unemployed due to workplace discrimination than non-Muslim women. Ironic, considering that the European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights heavily promotes the inclusion of Muslim women in the workforce in the Muslim world, where they claim Muslim women are denied opportunities and face discrimination at work. This is just another example, if any were needed, to demonstrate that the West is a pantomime civilization. They know how to pretend, how to articulate ideals and values very eloquently, but not how to actualize them. Western civilization has utterly failed to civilize their people. Actual neutrality, if that's what the court was concerned about, would mean not passing a judgment on an employee's religious practices, and instead hiring or firing them exclusively on the basis of their qualifications or the quality of their work, not their religion or the bigotry of their customers. But the West has never truly, genuinely internalized the values that they preach elsewhere. And frankly, every time this gets exposed, I'm happy. Muslims in Europe and around the world are not without remedy. The countries in which the EU operates programs that promote women in the workplace can suspend those programs. Muslims in Europe can protest, both in the streets and with their consumer dollars, to let companies know that they do not view discrimination as neutral. Activists have a lot of options, but ultimately I think that we should reconcile ourselves with the reality that the West never really matured out of the Dark Ages, and we should therefore adjust our expectations about how they are going to deal with us over the next several decades.
Why are they particularly picking on Muslim women in the workplace? One of the main weapons of propaganda that they have always used against Islam and against Muslims is this idea that Muslim women are oppressed, that Muslim women are kept uneducated, illiterate, stuck in the home, locked away, subject to male guardianship laws, so on and so on. The Muslim women are oppressed narrative is incredibly important to the West to maintain. And that's a very difficult piece of propaganda to maintain when your citizens are seeing every day professional, educated Muslim women in the workplace, performing their tasks, doing quality work, dealing with customers in a professional manner. When the citizens, when the public is interacting on a daily basis at work and as customers dealing with professional Muslim women, they're going to see that that whole narrative is false. I mean, the EU supports programs in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, to promote women into the workplace, to try to get more and more women into the workforce in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. However, the actual statistics in the Muslim world show that large majorities of the population, the male population, have zero problem whatsoever with the women of their household going out to work, to get an education, to get a job, to support herself or her family, and to be financially independent. Most Muslims in the world don't have a problem with that. And most Muslims, obviously, in Europe don't have a problem with that. That's why they're having a problem now with having too many Muslim women, hijabi Muslim women, representing Islam in a positive way, in an accurate way, in professional environments. That's a problem for the West, because that undermines their whole narrative about the oppression of Muslim women. So now the European Court of Justice is giving employers the right to fire Muslim women if they refuse to take off the hijab. Because, of course, if they're not wearing hijab, then they're not obviously Muslim. Or they could just be non-practicing, non-serious, secular Muslims. But if they're wearing hijab, then they're obviously practicing Islam. If they're practicing Islam and they come from practicing Muslim families, then of course they're supposed to be locked in the basement. Right? That's the narrative. They're supposed to be locked in the basement with no free will, no free choice, no independence, completely controlled, completely dominated by the male household members. That's the myth. You can't very well propagate that myth when everyone in the society is interacting with Muslim women in the workplace. And they're educated and they're professional and they're doing as good a job as anyone. So you need to make it impossible. You need to drive these Muslim women back into their homes, to make them choose between the hijab or their job. They're wanting to drive Muslim women out of the workplace. They're doing to Muslim women in Europe what they claim Muslim men do to women in the Muslim world, which is to tell them your place is in the home. And then, of course, the result is going to also be now that these Muslim women will be out of a job. We're talking about Europe, not the United States or not elsewhere, and they're going to get fired. They're not going to quit. They're going to be fired, so they will qualify for unemployment and they can go on welfare. Then Europe will be able to say, look at all of these Muslims, all of these Muslim women, these immigrants, children of immigrants, leeching off the welfare state. They're creating a whole new narrative that they can use against Muslims, because their narrative is always false. Their narrative about us is false. And so they can't allow any true representation of Islam, true representation of Muslims, true representation of Muslim women and their rights under Islam. They can't allow that to become known in the society. It's dangerous for them. That's the reason behind this ruling. So that's all I wanted to say on the subject. Yalla, assalamu alaikum, until next time.